commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. Hey, this is what it used to look like. We're 100% digital now, but this was Jason from AAA in Southern California. This was a great story. Some awesome pics. If you've ever been down to the AAA head office there in SoCal, oh man, they've got some old pictures of, the gold, the industrial age and so forth. But this was a great issue. Man, the magazine used to look so good, but you know what? Like everything changes. I love technology. Don't miss the post office. Don't miss printing. Just like digital. I'm a digital guy. These guys just had, oh God, I think 2.8 million people hit the website. I'm trying to go over 3 million before the end of the year. So I'm hoping it. And we just got our website live. Oh my God, I've been waiting. And so if you haven't seen the new website, please go to it, ccr-mag.com. I got all sorts of stuff moving and, stuff. So it looks really, really cool. And I'd like to get your feedback on. I've got a few emails over the weekend. They're like, hey man, saw the new site, looks great, blah, blah, blah. So, and listen, if you don't like it, you can tell me that too. I got thick skin. It's okay. I love constructive criticism. I'm a construction. So, you learn from everything that you build. But no, it's, I was supposed to get it up in the beginning of the year, and then one of my buds passed in March, and then my stepdad passed, and then my mom, she got what did Justin Bieber have? Whatever the thing he had, she had the face going on and drive up, so a couple months I had to put everything on hold and get things settled, and now come back in, and then you're going through things, and you think everything's going smoothly, and technology, it's just like if one little widget doesn't work or plug in, nothing works, and when you're trying to transfer 50,000 pages of content, pictures, videos, articles, magazines, and then you got to fix all the broken links. I mean, it just took forever. I didn't think it was ever going to get, it's like my kid. He was in diapers till he was 3. I didn't think he was ever going to walk till he was 20, I didn't think the website was ever going to get live. But finally, we got live and worked out all the kinks, and now it's humming right along. And we still got some things to do. You do the punch list of the construction site. You're going to do some other things that come up. It's never ever finished until you're ready to do the next project. So it's kind of like along those lines. But anyway, hey, I'm wearing my Boeing shirt. If it's not Boeing, I ain't going. My son had family day last weekend in Charleston. We drove over Friday night, and there's about 9,000 people that work there. Anyway, the line going in there, they must have 20,000, more than 20,000 people out there at the facility. And my son goes up the highway, around the exit, does the U-turn, comes back. Mine was like this long. All these people were backed up for miles. So he goes down, do it all the time. So get in there, and but what a facility. We got to take the tour of where they build the planes, the paint booth, the delivery center. They had these 2 monster 747s that were they were basically configured so they could, Boeing parts are built all over the world, and they ship everything to Seattle or Charleston. It's massive 747s. You should see these cargo frames that they ship all the parts with. But the factory itself, just immaculate. I mean, it was so cool. Couldn't take any pictures inside. I mean, security was like, high level. They were going to chop your arm off if you took a picture. So. But my son's on the flight line. He was in the manufacturing facility as a contractor, and now they just hired him as full time, which is, they pay for his school, feed him, the whole. I mean, it is an unbelievable company to work for, and they treat their employees great. But the facility itself, it's like a surgical room. It is so clean. I was blown away. And just to see how the 787 Dreamliners are built, when you're up there that close, you see the tail section, the fuselage, the wheel, and then you go out to the delivery, and the planes are ready to go out on the line. And my son, he actually goes and finishes the planes before they show up at this really cool delivery center where planes almost run, if they deck them out with all the bells and whistles. I talked about it in my publisher's column, about $350 million a piece. So they have this real nice delivery center where they can go in and they either write the check or give them their credit card for their points, whatever. And But he goes and finishes out the planes while they're on the line, and they come in and he fixes stuff. He beat out a lot of people for that job. He's only been there a year, and I was so proud to see what he did. And I was hard on him when he was growing up, but you know what? I told him, I'm hard on you now, but as you get older, you're going to realize, you're going to look back and say, God, I'm so glad. And the other night, he told me on the phone, he goes, Dad, I'm so glad that you and Mom were tough on me, because I wouldn't have made it long when I gotten hired. If you guys weren't as tough as on me, it built my character. And I see how some of the other people are kind of, they're kind of status quo, they're lazy, whatever. They're just there to collect a paycheck. And he takes pride in what he does, and he wants to do things right. But he's, it made me feel really good. Not that I'm looking for an ego, but it was very cool, because I knew I was Sergeant Carter. I definitely was, and scared the heck out of his friends, And I always told us, I said, don't egg my house on Halloween the night before, or TP my trees, because I'm coming after you. Don't do it. So, and Halloween's coming up, so they know. Don't screw Mr. Corson's house, man. Don't do it. So, anyway, it was an amazing thing, and I'm really glad for my kid. And beautiful weather once again. No humidity here in the South. The weather, it's just so nice here. The trees are starting to turn. We had a little frost last week. We lost some plants. Oh well, time was up. And Falcons took it on the chin. Braves got knocked out. University of Georgia still #1. They were on the bye this week. Got the biggest cocktail party in the Southeast, the University of Florida, coming up this weekend down in Jacksonville. So go Dogs! Beat those Gators. And other than that, all in all is good. But remember, if it's not Bowen, I ain't going. So with that said, I got a masonry person. I never had a masonry person on my on the show. His name is Matt DiBara, and he's the owner of DiBara Masonry out in SoCal in Los Angeles. Matt, say hello to our listeners of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk out there.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I think the takeaway there is I'm glad I'm not competing against Boeing. I'm glad I'm not in business to compete against them.
Yeah, well, listen, it's Lockheed Martin and Boeing, and there's a couple other guys, but Boeing's actually tied to NASA too. So they're a big government contractor, and Lockheed was after my son too. They have a plant up in Greenville, which is about an hour north of me, right up 85, and they build F-16s and fighter jets. And anyway, my son, he gets job offers every week, because there's such a shortage on labor, and all these maintenance guys that have been 30 years at these airlines or what have you, they're all retiring. So there's no one to fill their void. And I talked about it in my publisher's column. I'm like, look, if welding, woodworking, sheet metal, I mean, don't go to 4-year school. Go to a 2-year. Go do an apprenticeship. Become a plumber. Become an electrician. Do an HVAC tech. We need you out there. And you're going to go to a 4-year school. Listen, I went to University of Denver. I was an ice hockey lacrosse player. I went there to play sports and ski in the Rocky Mountains. My parents had a house in Vail. That's why I went out there. But I have an economics and political science major. But look, right now I'm a publisher. My English teacher when I was in prep school, he laughs at me. He's like, Corson, you were the worst in English. I can't believe you're a publisher and an editor. So going to a 4-year college, nothing against it. It's great, but it's not made for everybody. And listen, I knew my son wanted to work with his hands. So he never even wanted to go to college. He just wanted to go. First, he was going to be a car technician. Then he was going to work on motorcycles. I said, look, you got to do it in a warm place. Because like here, my Harley, I only ride it during the spring and in the fall. Because in the summer, it's too hot. I wear full face. I don't want to sweat my tail off here in the humidity in the summer. And in the winter, it's a little chilly. I ride it around my subdivision, to keep the bike hot every week. I've got it hooked into the generator, so the battery's hot. But other than that, so, and then we went and took the tour of the aviation school. He's like, oh my God, I found my calling. I'm like, cool. And you're going to learn all this stuff. So, we need people to do this. There's nothing wrong with working with your hands and being a skilled tradesman. You'll take more. And so if you got a young person out there, it's in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, oh my God, plant the seed now. So when it comes time, not only be more affordable, but if you become like a plumber's apprentice, not only will you get paid while you learn, you might even be able to buy that plumber out that doesn't have any kids to give his company to. So there's all these things that you can do with your hands. And I always say, look for things that everybody needs. You need HVAC, stay hot or cold. Plumber, Everybody uses water, shower, food, we drink it. You know, the plumber chat. Listen, when I'm a millionaire and being a plumber, I don't care about the plumber crack jokes. Okay, they don't bother me at all. You know, be a masonry guy. That's what we got Matt on here for. You know, I mean, without masonry, how are you going to put up the, you know, the building? You know, you need to insulate it and so forth. So you can give it that architectural stimulating look. So anyway, it's just been very interesting, you know, seeing, you know, what he did, my son did at Boeing, then was coming back and thinking about all the skilled labor and, you know, what's going on. And like I said, you know, we need as many people as possible to, you know, go into, you know, the skilled laborers. So Matt, the way this works is I do it in kind of three parts. You're going to tell us your story, where you grew up, how many, you know, sisters, brothers, you know, where you went to school, and how you ended up where you are today, you know, in the masonry sector. And then we'll talk about the last 30 months of the roller coaster and some of the lessons learned. And then we'll finish it off with one positive thought or phrase. So with that said, the floor is yours, Matt. Tell us your story.
Well, I had a hard dad. We could start there. Your story there.
Oh no! Listen, I get going. You got to shut me up. You know,
Yeah.
you know, someone should have a hook on me. You know, I'll just get going.
100%. No, I had a hard dad growing up, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. You know, we got into construction on accident, kind of an ironic story. So my great grandfathers came here from Italy to America. They bought land and they built their homes from the ground up. So they, you know, saved money, dug out the foundation, or, you know, dug out for the foundation, saved the stones, built the walls, framed the first floor, you know, put a tarp over it, lived in the basement. And then they got a little more money, framed it up, and that was just the way they did it. And so my grandfather followed in their footsteps, and then my father, uncle, grew the business, but they didn't speak English, and so they spoke Italian. And so the business really started working for neighbors. That's really how it all kind of originated. Was my great grandfathers worked for their neighbors, and then it branched outside the Italian section of a city outside of Boston into kind of just general construction. But it was never meant to be that way. And then I started real young. You know, we had that kind of that work hard, that American dream mentality. And so I started working when I was 9. My 3rd grade summer, my dad's like, let him come with me. And my mom's like, he's too young, he can't do that. And so then my 4th grade summer, the first 2 days, I was driving my mom crazy. And she goes, fine, take him. And that's really where it all started. First day on the job, I remember it like it was yesterday. And I got to work with dad. I'm excited. We got, you know, crews and guys and gals on the job site. And it was that big moment. And I remember I show up and I'm like, what am I building? What am I doing? And he's like,
you're going to clean the John.
Exactly. Well, he handed me a black trash bag and goes, you see all this trash? He said, that's you. So when I did that quickly, because I thought then I would be able to build and do the fun stuff, he goes, no, you're going to pick up the whole job site. So now I'm picking up for the electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters. Like that's how he was. He was tough. But I was fortunate. I learned a lot at a young age. He pushed me to grow. He wasn't somebody who did hand holding at all. You know, he'd leave me. I mean, I was laying brick at around 12, 13. I was running crews at like 15, 16. And my dad was the kind of guy, like, we had a neighbor and her mailbox got hit, a brick mailbox. And I think I was about 12 on a Saturday. Gets me all set up to build this thing. And I had done a little bit of bricklaying, you know, by his side or whatnot, or by the foreman's side that we had. And gets me all set up. And I'm like, okay, all right, you going to show me how to build this thing? He goes, yeah. Goes in the truck and leaves. He's like, call me when you're done. And that was before we even had cell phones. So I had to go knock on the client's house and be like, hey, can you call this number? And that's kind of my grassroots. I went to a vocational high school for bricklaying. So I learned all the different trades. You know, I placed 2nd in the country in a bricklaying competition. And then I went on to, you know, eventually take over the family business, and kind of the rest is history. But that's the long and the short of the journey.
Well, what year did your family come over from Italy?
Early 1900s.
Yeah, my family's been, you know, we're in 5th generation in construction, and they're in recycling, and we've been in business since 1888. And they were Russian Jews that came over, and not a penny in there. And my great grandfather David 𝐓𝐇𝐈𝐒 started the company. That's who I was named after. But same thing. I started working when I was really young. We had a fishing boat that we were from outside of Philly, but we had a house in South Jersey in Atlantic City. And when I wanted to become the first mate, I must have been like, third or fourth grade like you. My dad's like, hey, you need to write a letter to your grandfather and why he should hire you. And I would load the bait and make sandwiches and then clean the boat up for the next day out on, for the trip. And anyway, so I worked all through that, and I was always down at the scrap plant, the scrap yard. And the biggest thing was when I was 16, all the grandsons, whenever, nothing against my sister, but only the grandsons. You got your driver's license, you had to go in the scrap yard. That was the way it was. You get your license, you're going to the scrap yard. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, be in there. And my Uncle Frank was the superintendent, and boy, was he scared the heck out of me. My Uncle Frank, may he rest in peace. And but my two other cousins were all born in June, so all three of us, we were all in there. And we shoveled asbestos, we railroad tracks, had to watch out for the overhead cranes, we did all that stuff. And but the biggest thing is like, I learned so much at that early age, that you work hard, and even OSHA, I had to take my shower there, make sure you get all the lead off you and stuff. So, I mean, but they were doing recycling before sustainability and all this green stuff was even, a gig. We have these old 8mm movies of after World War II and all the tanks and jeeps that they recycled all the steel. And so, that whole work ethic, and my son would always laugh at me. Hey, man, I was doing stuff when, oh, Dad, you've told me that a million times. But now, the same kind of gig, and I remember there was this one day we were building this paint booth, and it was a sandblasting booth for trains after we laid the railroad tracks. And the owner was from the University of Denver, so he's basically alumni. And I hadn't gone there yet, but I didn't know that. Anyway, my grandfather comes in with the client. Hey, no barking. And anyway, he goes, hey, his name was Dominic. Dom goes, hey, Dave, you got to go upstairs and unhook the overhead crane from the paint booth. And I'm like, I am not going up on that thing. And he's like, well, didn't you weld that? And I'm like, yeah, you don't trust your welds? I'm like, not really, and I'm looking at, it's like about 25-foot, fall down on the train tracks. But my grandpa's sitting there like, okay, I got to go up. So, I undid it, I made my way down. But at dinner, he looked at me and he goes, hey, man, that was a really good job. Because I know it was gutsy going up there, because you never know. Because I learned welding on my own. No one really showed me. I just, got the mask on and you figure it out, just like you did with the mailbox, right? No one said any of that stuff. Yeah. So those are the best lessons learned. Even if you make a mistake, you learn from it. So hats off for your dad saying, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Right? I'll see you later, Matt. I'll see you at dinner. Nice job. So, I love talking to people like you. It's like deja vu, when you said all that, family came over from Italy, they built a house, you lived together, you probably had the best meals ever, you know, and, and then you went, vocational school, and then you took the company over, you earned your keep, and, and everybody that works with you respects you. So it's, it's not like everything was given to you on a silver platter, maybe it was a rusty old platter, but still it was, you earned it, that's what's the coolest thing. So hats off to you. So nice story. Nice story.
Yeah. It sounds more glamorous than it is. It's nice to say it now. It's not the best when you're going through it, but I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah, no, hey, it's masonry, recycled steel, so, but, oh no, those are some of the best days of my life. My favorite thing that I still have is my erector set, it's the metal case. I built more things that, I still, so, those are some of the fondest memories that I have, going down to the scrapyard, playing there, when I was young. Who knew that I was going to end up, where I was going to be? But, I'm in construction, I'm just building a magazine versus something else. So, well, let's talk about, you're out west. California wasn't the easiest place to work in during the roller coaster over the last, 30 months, with regulations and, building, stuff that was going on during that time period. But now, that we're kind of opened up and, we can kind of look back. Tell us, how you're running the company and, March comes, everything gets shut down and no one knows what the heck's going to happen, a couple weeks, couple months. And here we are, 30 months later and we're still talking about it. Tell us, your kind of your mindset, of how your company went about it and, because, it's like if you were here in Georgia, we were kind of open. So we had a lot of construction still going on. But if you were doing, you know, a project in, let's say, Pennsylvania, or, you know, out in California, you know, the regulations, you know, put a damper on things. And masonry, you got to be kind of close, you know, versus being like on a federal project out in the highway building a road, you're wide open. And so tell us kind of your mindset of how you kind of, you know, manage the rough seas.
Well, I mean, we were fortunate because I remember a conversation when I was a little kid with my dad and my grandfather, where my grandfather had said, he said, look, you need to be in residential, commercial, and government work. He said, because the pendulum swings. He's like, when the private sector is doing really well, there's not as much people want to deal with the government work and the paperwork. Same thing with commercial. He said, commercial's kind of in the middle. And so as a company, we always had our foot in those three areas. How much emphasis we put was relative to whatever was easiest and most profitable, but we always kept commercial references good. We always did, you know, a little bit of government work, enough to keep our references good. So if we bid something and they weren't like, well, when was your last project? We're not like, oh, 7, 8 years ago. It was like, 2 years ago, a year, whatever. So we had a diversified portfolio in terms of what we could do. We also have different trades that we do. So we primarily masonry, but stucco, concrete, structural concrete. I think I hold 6 licenses, general contractor. So, you know, that was a strategy that we had way before, you know, the roller coaster. And then we also were big on innovation. So we were doing a lot of stuff virtually, and we were already kind of adopting what I saw as a trend early on, like virtual communication, virtual meetings, virtual estimates. Like we were already adapting to a lot of those things just from a culture perspective, because I knew that, you know, there are little things that we could do, avoiding certain commutes, not having to drive to the office. That was already inbred. So in our culture. So it wasn't that it was, it came with problems for sure. I mean, you know, imagine the residential department, just the phone stops ringing immediately. It was like, you know, within a day, we just got no calls. And I was like, oh boy, this is, so we had a meeting and we talked to our marketing team. So we've always held control over our lead flow. So we held a meeting where I said, all right, let's double all the budgets we have across all the platforms and everything we're doing. Let's prepare for the worst, because this could be it. And so we did that. And thankfully, you know, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, things started picking up again. But I mean, the ability to move quickly and the fact that we held the family culture was big, because, you know, we've had, you know, eight trucks, 9 trucks, you know, we have at any given day, sometimes 11, 12 projects going on any given day. I mean, that's a big machine, but the fact that we could get everyone together and move quickly, I think helped us out a lot. I mean, we were able to pivot, we were able to have meetings, we were able to negotiate workflows. And we had a big commercial project we were on for a bank. We were doing the whole exterior for this bank grand opening. We were able to find ways around distancing and phase different parts of the project, but it was tough. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was a lot of just really, you know, the lessons I learned from my dad, right? Taking control, taking immediate action. I mean, all the things that I learned as a kid. You know, if there's an issue on a job site, it was like, you know, assess, plan, and implement. And that's what we did. But I took it very serious, because my mentor was my grandfather and lived through the Great Depression. So I was horrified of these things. I don't even know what they are. You know, I wasn't born around that time, but you know, I heard stories about my grandfather hopping a fence to, you know, steal fruit because they had no money to eat. And so that's like my mindset. I knew probably in a more severe way what could be at stake. And when this happened, I treated it like that. So I don't know if that made me, you know, take it more seriously and move quickly, but you know, he was definitely, those stories were ringing in my ear of how bad things could get if you don't move quickly.
Yeah. You know, being diverse, you know, when things are tough, it's an amazing thing that, you know, looking at, you know, but you did it right though. Double down on everything that you were doing, and being able to turn on a dime, but having that backbone and that work ethic and that character that was built in you, you know, from your grandfather all the way up. You know, people that turn on a dime, you know, even though I've talked to all sorts of people over the last 30 months, architects, end users, you know, vendors. Some of them had the best years that they ever had, you know, but the ones that did were able to, you know, control what they did, but they were able to work, you know, basically make a decision, run with it, and be flexible. And you know, use virtual just like we are now, you know, to what extent you can. But you know, you're in a trait that you got to do that stuff on, you know, the robot's not going to do it, you know, and so you know, that whole ordeal. The biggest thing there was that people were so worried about company culture. You know, what am I going to do about my company culture? Do I know if my people are going to be able to get up in the morning and work? And now after it's all said and done, they're like, wow, there's no water talk. Meetings don't last an hour. They last 15 minutes. Why would I have to drive an hour and a half to a project when I can do it on FaceTime and pick and choose where you're going to fly or where you're going to go? And so, and like this, Zoom was there before, the roller coaster even started, but it's not going anywhere. People are going to use this. Just like I said, if you have a chance to do, a little site visit that's something that can be done here on your phone, you're not going to go do that. Time is very precious these days. People are very selective on what they're going to spend their time on. And so I congratulate you for, weathering the seas there. And were people virtual pretty much, or did you have people coming into the office, or how did that work?
We had some people coming into the office and we structured things accordingly. We did a lot more virtual. I think we just came together. I mean, that was the biggest piece. Like we had a meeting and we are like, look, I guarantee you we're going to get through this. And I was like, in two ways. I was like, either bigger, stronger, better, faster, or, broken and disheveled. I'm like, and we get to control that. And so we had a meeting. I mean, it's kind of like a real roller coaster, right? Imagine you're clicking up to the top of that crest. If you think I'm going to die, your entire trip through that roller coaster is I'm going to die and it's miserable. Or if you think this is fun and, enjoyable and we can make this great, that's what happens. That's why some people scream for their lives and other people scream because they enjoy it. It's kind of like, we took the challenge and we got excited by it. But yeah, I mean, we definitely, it was case by case. I mean, I took every part of my company and I broke it up and I said, okay, what are the weak points what are the stress points that we're going to feel in this area, right? And how do we accommodate that? What are the stress points here? And I I mean, I built, right? I'm a builder. I mean, that's, set of plans, problem solving. I mean, that's really my background. I mean, we're home builders, right? Is what we were. And we did masonry and concrete because I remember my grandfather saying, I'm bored with the other stuff. He's like, masonry and concrete's art. He's like, I just don't, he's like, I can frame, I can do all, I mean, we did all that growing up, but the challenge and the creativity is why we did this. And so for me, it was just, just like anything else, how do you approach a project, right? You come up with a plan, you execute, and as soon as you hit a roadblock, you measure. Everything's, schedule is your kind of what you weigh against, right? It's a way to measure your prediction, right? So you set a timeline for a project and you say, all right, the excavation is going to take 2 weeks. Well, if it takes 4, you're measuring against that. It's very easy. So I just took all the principles that I learned in construction and applied them to business, because I don't have a business degree. I went to school for construction management, but to me, it was just common sense.
Oh yeah. The roller coaster analogy is really, really cool. But the one thing you left out, because I'm going to use that, if I'm going to steal that from you. That was really
okay.
Good. So
yeah, no worries.
But when you're getting on the roller coaster, you're getting on one. With the shutdown, no one knew what it was, so you got thrown on this ride, and you're like, what is this thing? Oh my God, I'm going up the thing. Oh my God, what the heck is on the other side? At least when you're getting on the ride, that you're going to do some loops, you're going to go down, and but this ride, it was like you were blindfolded, like, where am I going?
Well, it's tough, right? I agree with you, but I also think a part of it is that we knew a roller coaster was coming. We knew the economy was hot. We knew something was going to happen. And so if you weren't somebody who was preparing, I mean, we didn't know if it was going to be the roller coaster we experienced or something different, but there was a lot of evidence to show that something was going to come, because, when it's sunny and the sun's shining, to predict that it's going to do that every day. I mean, and that's what I learned from my grandfather. He's like, look, things move in cycles. He's like, so I don't know what, he's like, I'm not smart enough to tell you what it's going to be. He's like, but I'm smart enough to tell you that at some point, the private sector is going to shrink and there'll be a lot more government work. He's like, and vice versa. He's like, and that's just been true throughout our history. And so, I mean, that I paid attention to, I have a lot of clients that are a lot more well off in the business sense, in terms of, running massive companies, financial sector stuff I really don't understand, but there's definitely a pattern and trends. And I think, we played as if it were already here. I mean, I was doing virtual residential estimates and even commercial meetings and stuff. We were doing that 2 years before the roller coaster even happened, because I knew at some point, we got to innovate.
Oh yeah. It's like I said, people that, when they look back, the companies are, the majority of them made it through. I mean, some companies didn't make it. Listen, if you're a restaurateur, you got hammered. I don't, maybe fast food, but if you were just a restaurant, or depending on what state you were in, you got hammered. So if you're still standing today out there as a restaurateur, hats off to you, man, because you got some thick skin and you got the go get an attitude of what do I have to do to keep my doors open, and so, but the that whole aspect of company culture, and it doesn't mean that much. You just need to get things done, whether you have to do it virtually or you have to do these meetings on, that was the biggest thing that I heard. How am I going to say your company is going to do fine? You're just going to have to learn how to do things in a different way. And it's like me, I was print face to face. I mean, I was frozen, and then I went digital, and I was like, God, I've been printing magazines for over 25 years, 20, whatever it is. And all of a sudden I'm going to go digital. I mean, it was a dicey thing. There were some nights in April before I went digital in May of 2020. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to have an issue anymore. Well, I did a very, very small press run. Basically, we're 100% digital. But and then when August of 2021, when I printed my last issue, I was like, adios, see you later. It's been real. Now I don't even look back. And but there were some dicey moments there. There were a lot of sleepless nights. I remember April. God, I'd be up to my wife would be like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I just gotta think. I'm gonna clear my head here and try to figure out some things." And it was like being in battle. I was put in a sports analogy. It was like we were going on the fourth quarter. Scrap the game plan. We got to go do this because we got to score some points here if we're going to win this game. If we're going to even get into overtime. That was my thing was let's tie the game and let's get into overtime and then win it. If I have to put in the sports analogy. So, but the roller coaster, really, really good analogy, man. Bridge, you planned that, didn't you? You were thinking about that, right?
No. When you said it, but even the culture thing, I think it's, the roller coaster exposed a lot of weak culture. I think, it's not that I wouldn't say necessarily in my view that culture doesn't matter. I think what it was the companies that had a whatever it takes winning culture, it was like it brought everyone closer. And if you had kind of a weak culture and this thing happened, it was like if things were weak when everything was good, when this deal kicked off, I mean, it was like you just saw, I mean, we had some of the best hiring momentum we've ever had during this whole deal. Hiring, our culture, all of it, because it was a way to amplify. But it just goes back to being prepared. It saw so many, even friends that I have that own successful companies. I'm like, the culture's weak here. Nobody's working together. Everyone's showing they're disengaged. I'm like, what happens when there's a storm? And then here we are. And it's like, it was a shame.
Yeah. Are there any cool new products, that you've seen that have come out over the last 30 months, with the transition and, the new way things look or, in your world?
I mean, we're definitely seeing, we're seeing a couple things. I'm seeing a lot more of like the quick stack veneer systems are becoming more popular to cut costs, but still maintain the masonry look. There's a bigger emphasis on certain, like a lot of the colored mortars and things like that have become, I think, a little bit more popular as we do more restoration work, having more colors. I guess, specifically in the masonry world or outside and just general.
Just in general, things that you've seen, you're out there on the construction site. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's.
Construction really doesn't change much. It's just kind of like the little things, the little tweaks here and there that you see that,
Well, yeah, that's the big one. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on my biggest thing. What I'm very interested in right now is I'm keeping an eye on the fiberglass reinforced rebar, and I'm curious to see where that goes. There's a lot. I talked to a company out of Australia, and I'm very interested to see if we adopt. I mean, because that changes a lot of things. I mean, in the structural concrete world, residential, commercial, there's just a lot there. So I'm definitely interested to see, at least in my industry, if that takes off. So that's something we're keeping an eye on.
Okay, fiberglass rebar. Well, you guys out there, remember he said that, man. You've seen these companies invest. He just gave you, a hint. So, if you had one positive thought or phrase that you'd like to leave with our listeners out there, because you went through it, and you're still standing today, what would that be?
I live by plan your work your plan. And it changes everything because it eliminates the reactivity. And to me, it's positive because it's something you can execute. So it's not just a feel good statement. It's like something you can live by. So plan your work your plan. And that's what we did during this whole deal. Is we planned what we were going to do, we executed. The minute things started to get off track, we took time, we planned, and then we executed. And it was just that happening over and over and over again. We didn't do anything without planning. You know, if an idea came up, great. How is this going to be executed? What's the plan? We didn't just dive into anything. So plan your work, work your plan.
Love it. I'll add one thing to it. Get her done. No matter how you do it, man. Never ever quit. Get her done. Never ever quit. You know, don't stay negative. People are negative. Get rid of them. You know, I'm taking a digital class right now, and it's all about mindset. And the biggest thing they've been, right after this, I got to go to my digital class. Anyway, it's all about mindset. And the biggest thing they say is negativity. It's the worst thing. Get rid of it. You know, those doomsdayers, the people are just down, get rid of those. There's 8 billion people on the planet. You can surround yourself with positive people that have your same vision or that same thought process. It makes everything so much, like you had fun doing what you were doing, right? So if you're having fun what you're doing, oh my God, versus listen to something, oh God, I hate this, blah blah blah. You know what? I don't have time for it. And let bring the people in that want to play in your sandbox. If they want to play, go play in someone else's sandbox. So play your work it down. Hey, and just have the flexibility. Even if you have the plan, some things might not go the way that they do. You still have to. You can still execute it. You just have to be able to tweak it and work on a dime, right?
100%.
Absolutely. If someone wanted to get in touch with you or just talk masonry or what your thoughts were and so forth, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, Matt D. So my first name, last initial at DiBara Masonry, DiBara Masonry, or MD at the Contractor Consultants. Easy.
All right. If someone wants to get in touch with me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. And I know you hate me saying this, but it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. So if you don't send me something, I can't put it up on the web. Like Matt's publicist reached out to me. That's how he got on here, on the podcast and or Zoom, whatever you want to call it. And we look at everything, especially now with the new website. Oh, I'm looking for content all day long. It's a win-win. I post every night. I give you the link. It's a share win-win. And we're looking. I need your help to get over 3 million. It's like the guys on YouTube. I'm at 75,000 subscribers. I want to get up to 100,000. I want to get over 3 million people hitting the site. So send me something. I look at everything. We'll find. It's very tough to get in the magazine, but whether it's the podcast, social media, we'll find something for it. We look at everything. Don't discount it. And don't judge the book by its cover. Always send me something because I look at everything. It might take me a week or two to get back to you, but I always will. So send me something. So Matt, I look forward to, seeing you. I've kind of taken a 2-year hiatus. I've only done a couple trips, on the plane. I always used to do my cocktail reception out at Warner Brothers out in LA. And I don't know if I'll be able to do that out there next year or not, because, Hollywood, they take it on the chin too. And but he said, give me a call at the end of the year. So hopefully I'll, give my contact there and see if we can, get back on the studio lot and do an event. But if not, we'll find a place to do it. There's plenty of cool places in LA that you can, do an event. And I look forward to seeing everybody, and listen, when I come see you, I'm not going to fist punch. I'm going to shake your hand. You know what I mean? You know where I'm coming from?
I feel like you got a good handshake, David.
Yeah. So I've broken a couple fingers, but they're a little bent, But no, I look forward to getting them back and seeing all my buds, and I miss all that, and just getting back in the swing of things. And so my wife's like, during the shutdown, she's like, "Aren't you going anywhere?" I'm like, "Where would you like me to go? Nothing's open. You can't fly. You can't go here. No one's, where would you like me to go?" Now she's kind of used to be at home, we're probably going to start building up on the lake, and now she's like, "Where are you going?" "I'm going on the road." "You want me to go on the road, right?" So you can't, it's one of those things. So, well, Matt, pleasure speaking with you. Congratulations on keeping the company going. Congratulations for your grandfather and your father teaching all that good stuff, to build your character, that mold. That's something, you can't teach that stuff. You gotta, it's either inside you gotta, learn it for yourself, but you had that, that's just priceless in my book. And that story was just reminding my own family, so I really appreciate that. And, it's just a really, really good story. So thanks for sharing that. So with that said, if everybody, it's fall, you got Halloween coming up, then you got Thanksgiving next month. Oh my God, the year's almost ended. And then all of a sudden you're going to have, the holidays, and boom, we're going to shut the door on 2022. You got the midterms. Who cares? And, who knows what's going to happen. I'll just deal with it. And, it's like that. I'm getting on the roller coaster here in the elections coming up. Who knows? But anyway, but listen, 2020, it's been an amazing year. I've learned so much about myself, about my business, about my clients, my friends, my rescue dogs, whatever. I've learned so much. I think 2023 is going to be an unbelievable year. And everybody out there, we want you to stay safe on the construction site, drink lots of water, stay hydrated, and most of all, stay safe. And, and have fun, smile, make you feel better. Get rid of the negativity. You don't need it. So, Matt, say goodbye from LA.
Goodbye, and kick them out of the sandbox if you don't like them.
Yeah, kick them out, man. Don't touch my Tonka toy. Come on, man. That's my excavator. Get out of here, man. So, anyway, everybody have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Pleasure, Matt. Look forward to seeing you. All right. Have a great week. Hang in there. See ya.